Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode from the Multi-Tools and Blades channel. Please hit that subscribe button if you already haven't done so. Today's episode is about the Wenger Evolution S54 tool chest. It is one of Wenger's widest multi-tools, so it's best carried in one of these sheaths rather in the pocket. I'm sure you're all aware that Wenger has been acquired by Victorinox back in 2005. This particular model is still available under the Victorinox brand, so if you want one of these you can still get the Victorinox S54. There are a few tiny little changes, but I think the changes are actually for the better. For example, the first thing would be the can opener. I think the can opener on the Victorinox works a little bit better than the Wenger one. This is a design that Victorinox had many years ago, but they dropped for the current version. If we flip it over, on the other side we've got the awl. So on the Wenger we have just an awl, there's no sewing needle hole, but on the Victorinox model it was changed out for the reamer with a sewing needle hole. I can think of more reasons to have a reamer than I can for having just an awl. And because it doesn't have a sewing needle hole, I mean, it doesn't really make a very good awl anyway, does it? The other thing that's changed is the corkscrew. So we now have a Victorinox corkscrew on the Victorinox model. So it will take the little miniature eyeglass screwdriver fitment, whereas the Wenger has a different turn and it won't take the Victorinox bits. So all in all, this is all the changes that Victorinox made to the tool. Everything else is pretty much identical. However, if you're comparing this to say a Swiss Champ that has a very similar tool outlay, you'll see that everything is very different to a normal Victorinox Swiss Champ. So we'll start with the main blade. The main thing here is it locks. So if you take a Victorinox Swiss Champ, it doesn't lock. That main blade has a locking mechanism there. It even has a stopping point halfway, so you have time to get the fingers out of the way. Next we have a nail file. It's quite a nice little nail file. You'll see it on a lot of different Wengers around the same time period. On the second layer we have a pair of pliers. These are different to what Victorinox has on their Swiss Champ. Instead of a single fulcrum, it has a pivot point where you can actually adjust the width of the pliers. This will come in handy if you're trying to grab onto something that's a little bit oversized. Take note that Wenger also don't use a separate spring. They use the back spring that's holding the tool in place with that little lever there. I like this design better than what Victorinox normally does. On the next row we have a Phillips, very similar to what Victorinox has on their Swiss Champ. I couldn't say that one was better than the other, to be honest. Although I do seem to feel that the Wenger is a little bit more sharper, a little bit more pointier on the ends. What is certain is the Wenger is a lot shorter than the Victorinox though. That's because opposite the Phillips driver is a metric spanner. This is a very controversial tool because it sort of works, sort of doesn't. You'll see here there's a little marker on the side that shows how to use it. On the Victorinox version I believe that's actually been dropped off. I personally haven't had much luck using this. On the next row across we have a pair of serrated scissors. I really love the serrations on these scissors. They cut materials much better than the Victorinox versions do. The scissors on this tool I haven't used that much, but I do have a smaller Wenger that has the same scissors that I've used regularly, and I've never had any problems at all with the scissors on that one. I've never had a need to sharpen them or anything like that. Not that they can be sharpened, but if you have a look at trauma shears, like the Leatherman Raptor, you'll see that it's serrated and it's really good for cutting through materials. You might notice it's also got the same spring as the pliers, so it uses the back spring. I much prefer this type of spring than the Victorinox versions. So next on the list we have the fishing tool. This is not a tool that I use, so it wouldn't really be fair for me to make any comments of its usability. But if you do use this tool, please pop a comment down below. We'd love to hear what you guys think about it. So next to the fishing tool we have the magnifying glass. It's quite a different design to what Victorinox does with their magnifying glass. You can see it's built into a stainless steel construction and it has a small screwdriver tip on the end. I'm not sure that I'd want to put too much torque on that frame around that lens there when twisting on the screwdriver, but it seems to work, and Victorinox have kept it on with their Delamont series, so if it's good enough for Wenger and Victorinox, I guess it's good enough. So then we have the bidirectional wood saw. It is a standard wood saw, so you'll see it on a lot of Wenger's tools. And next to that we have the metal saw and file. It's quite an aggressive file. You'll notice the teeth marks go right to the end, which can be useful. I much prefer these Wenger files than the Victorinox Swiss Champs. I just feel that the Wengers are a lot more aggressive. You can just feel the difference. For those of you watching with a keen eye, you would have noticed that the fishing tool did not have a ruler. So this ruler here is a dedicated ruler, but it also has a small little compass built into it. So if any of you out there have heard of something called needle drag is something that happens when a compass is built in the northern hemisphere, and when you move to the southern hemisphere, like I am in Australia, it doesn't work. It happens to a lot of our compasses that are made in China and other places of the northern hemisphere, like Switzerland for this one. Thank goodness for GPS, eh? So in the last row we have the cap lifter and large screwdriver. This one has the locking mechanism, so when you push down on the screwdriver it locks in place and does not fold back on itself. I'm quite sure Victorinox was quite happy to get their hands on the patent for that. I'm quite surprised though that they don't have a stop at the halfway mark like Victorinox do. I think the last thing we've got is the tweezers and the toothpick. They're more hidden than what you find on the Victorinox. I tend to find myself forgetting that they're there sometimes. I wouldn't say that they're any better or worse than what Victorinox offers. I find them both useless, to be honest. The best tweezers and toothpick I've seen would be on a Schrade USA Oldtimer. I'll do a review on that shortly. These can be a real pain compared to the Victorinox to find the hole and get it in properly. There we go. So what you'll notice here, it's quite a large back, and there's only, across that whole span, there's only two tools. So you've only got the corkscrew on one end and the awl on the other. I think that's a really great waste of space. Wenger could have done something a lot more with that space there. And I'm really surprised because Wenger was really known for their innovation. I'm not an engineer, so it's not fair for me to criticize, but I just think Wenger could have come up with something. Just imagine if they had to. I mean, this really would have been a Swiss champ killer if he had a lot more tools on the backside. I think we'll leave it there, so thanks again for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you all next time.